Okay, ready?
Yes.
Good morning, everyone. This is the Plans Review Subcommittee meeting of the Tucson-Pima County Historical Commission of Wednesday, October 19th, 2022. Call to order at 9:10 a.m. And I will just go ahead and do roll call. Terry is here. Savannah,
Here.
Joel,
Here.
Ricky.
Here.
Okay, not present are Commissioners Mulder and Griffith. But we hope that Commissioner Griffith will be on shortly. So, okay, let's go ahead with item 2, which is approval of legal action report / minutes for the meeting of September 8th, 2022. Could I have a motion to that effect, please?
This is Joel, I'll move.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on that motion or on the, yes, on the motion? Okay, if not, I'll go ahead and call roll. Terry says aye. Savannah,
Aye.
Joel,
Yes.
Ricky?
Aye.
Great, thank you. It passes 4-0. Item 3 is historic preservation zone review cases that we review under UDC section 5.8/TSM 9-02.0.0 Historic District Design Guidelines and the revised Secretary of the Interior Standards and Guidelines. Case 3A is HPZ 22061 at 612 East First Street in the West University Historic Preservation Zone. It's for construction of 2 porches. The full review, it's a contributing resource, and we use the rehabilitation standards. And who do we have? Marcellus Russ to present?
Yes.
Okay, before you do, Marcellus, Jody, do you have any background on this case?
Yes. And of course, I don't have that pulled up because I slacked off. Oh my God. This project went to the West University Historic Zone Advisory Board on September 20th. They presented and it was approved as presented. It was a unanimous approval, 6-0.
Great, thank you. Okay, go ahead, Marcellus.
Should I share my screen here?
Yes,
Or-
please.
Jody, can I share?
Yeah. I don't, there should be nothing blocking you. Sorry.
It says host disabled.
When did the host disable that? I did not disable that.
I don't know. I'm trying to share. It says host disabled.
That's weird. They recently had us consolidate our accounts, which is kind of weird.
Jody, if we had the same issue at HCD, if you can make him a co-host,
Yeah.
that's how we got around it.
Yeah, you should be, that consolidating thing is killing us. You
Yeah.
should be
Okay.
able to do it now.
I got it.
Great.
Oh, except that's the wrong project. Hold on. Sorry. Thought that was the right project. Sorry. Hold on 1 second. I apologize.
Okay,
Everybody's out of sorts. We're doing it on a day and on time.
I had it all pulled up for the wrong project. Okay. Sorry about that. The proposal is to add a porch in the rear and a porch on the side of 612 East First Street. This is the overall site plan. This is First Street. The larger addition would be the rear porch. And there's a existing side porch that we're adding columns to. Neither one of them is visible from First Street. So this is the existing view from First Street and the existing front porch, which has this neoclassical little bump out. And this is the existing rear porch, which has this like 1960s carport sort of porch on the back of it, extruded aluminum. The side porch is a little nook in the existing house, which someone has, there's our historic beams going across here that someone has put corrugated steel across at some time in the past. And so we're proposing to remove that, put 2 columns in, and formalize this. Let's see. So this is the existing rear porch, which has that little aluminum lean-to, and the proposal is to add this sort of neoclassical addition with white wooden columns sitting on pedestals to kind of evoke the they're different, but it's a similar language to the front porch. So that would be the rear. This is the plan side view. This is the side porch. So the existing footprint is the same. We would just be adding these 2 columns, same style as the rear, and putting in a low slope roof with painted steel panels as the roofing material. Oh, I forgot. So the roof on this one would be light gray asphalt shingles to match the existing. This is the structure as it is now. You can see that little aluminum lean-to in the back. And this is the existing property inventory. That's pretty much it. Are there any questions?
Anyone?
This is Joel. I don't really have a question as much as a comment. I think this is a wonderful design. I'll tell the Plans Review Subcommittee, I live not too far from this house, and the owners are doing a lot to bring the house up under historical standards. So, I think we ought to approve it as presented, pretty much.
Okay, others?
I guess my question is about the side porch roofing. Why is it a different material there? Is it an issue of slope?
Yeah, let's see. It's got a very complicated existing roof, and we couldn't really put in a larger pitch. I didn't want to put in a built-up roof because we're concerned about long-term maintenance, etc. So it's such a slow slope that it really won't be visible from the ground in the yard, and it's not visible from First Street. But the idea was you can't get a warranty. You can't have a low slope roof with asphalt shingles. So it was just trying to get a low slope roof with a durable material.
Okay. And then the columns don't match the front ones, but they match, you said, a precedent in the neighborhood?
Yes. So this is another building in the neighborhood, which have the little elevated pedestals. It's also a detail you find in other buildings, like for instance, Old Main, which is on the edge of the neighborhood, has this detail on its columns. So it's using that same sort of language, but just a slightly different detail than the front.
And the flooring surface, does that change at all? Are you?
No, they're existing concrete slabs. There's a There's a nice elevated concrete slab on the side here. That stays the same. The columns that go basically where you see those two potted plants. And the rear, this is brick over here, but where the porch is just a concrete slab, and that does not change.
Okay, and then that side porch you can't see from the front street at all. It projects out a tad bit, doesn't it?
It does. There's a 6-foot wall and a lot of vegetation. So you really have to be at their side gate to be able to see it. You'd have to be up in the yard to be able to see it.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else, Savannah?
No, that was all my questions. I think it's pretty straightforward. Actually, one more question, the color paint, is that?
Oh, sorry. The trim and the columns would be white to match the existing trim and columns on the house.
That house that the columns that you're basing this off of, is that within the developmental zone for this? Or is it just
No.
somewhere in the neighborhood? Okay.
It's in West University, but it's not in the zone. I mean, the other precedent I was using is the existing front porch, which doesn't have the elevated column, but it has, the white column.
Okay. Is there a reason that they wanted that column and not like match it to what's already in the house?
It was partially to differentiate, from the historic original, but it's also a fact that they already purchased a bunch of columns, and they're that height. And they did it with the intention of matching Old Main, so they had this in mind when they purchased them.
Okay. I don't have a problem with that then. I also have no further questions.
I mean, the front columns are original, right? So I actually think it's
Yes.
good that these are distinct from those.
Yeah, the front columns are part of the original construction.
Okay. If there's nothing else, could we have a motion?
This, Joel, I'll move that the project be approved as presented.
Okay, is there a second?
This is Ricky. I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, I'll go ahead and call roll. Terry says aye. Ricky?
Aye.
Joel?
Yes.
Savannah?
Hi.
Great, thank you. It passes unanimously 4-0. So thank you, Marcellus. So
Thank
I
you.
think we're good to go on that case. Okay. Let's go ahead with 3B because we have to call it anyway, even if the person isn't here. HPZ 22071, 626 North 6th Avenue. In the West University Historic Preservation Zone, replacement of 8 windows and garage door. Now this was, the applicant was not able to attend today, so this case will be rescheduled, correct, Joni?
Correct. It'll be rescheduled, likely in November.
Okay. All right. So I have texted, Carol cannot make it because she thought the meeting was tomorrow and not today. And we need to have a 5th person because Savannah would have to recuse from the next case. I have texted Jan, but she is not responding because I think she said she would be out of cell range. Isn't that your understanding, Jody?
Correct.
Yeah, so I guess we will have to, what can we do? Can we just skip over this case and say that we're not taking it because we can't accommodate the recusal?
Yeah, we can trail it to the 27th, which is our regularly scheduled meeting next week. It'll be a tight schedule and we'll have to keep everybody on the timeline for that one because capstone is also during that meeting. But we have that option.
Can we schedule, well, what about Mr. Mackey's case?
Mr. Mackey, we already told him we couldn't commit to the 27th, that he would likely be in November.
Okay, so we could basically put, we could put case 3C at the beginning of the agenda and move through it, don't you think?
Yeah,
Okay, so shall we just say that we are not taking case 3C? Because with Commissioner McDonald recusing, we would not have enough to carry on with the case. Does
we
that work?
have a quorum, correct.
Okay, so I don't know how we say it, but we'll just say did not hear case.
Yeah, due to lack of quorum. That's really what it comes down to. Sorry, thank you, Corky and Ann, for showing up, and I apologize that we weren't able to accommodate today.
Okay, let's go on then, just move through the agenda quickly. Is that okay with everyone?
And I'll,
Yeah.
now I'm working on the agenda for the 27th, so you should have that shortly.
Okay, I'm very sorry. This is very unusual. Okay,
Can I interrupt for a second? This is Corky. What time will it be on the 27th?
That's our regularly scheduled meeting, so it'll be at 1 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
yeah, sorry, Corky. Okay, item 4 is task force on inclusivity report recommendations. 4A is discussion on best practices for naming of city and county owned physical assets discussion. I am hoping to get something that we could have to discuss the first meeting of November, if we think that, what is that looking like, Jody?
The first week of November, we
The first
have
meeting, yeah, the first meeting, yeah.
the first meeting. We have Bill Mackey's. We have a couple, and Bill Mackey's, which is West University, and then we'll have another West University project also on that agenda.
And that is November,
10th is our regularly scheduled one.
right? Okay,
And then the 11th is the Veterans Day holiday.
right. Okay. Let me just see something here. Okay, so what I'm thinking is that Ricky, so I would send to you and Carol what I'm thinking of, because I'd like to have this and move it on the December agenda for full commission. You know, just so
Okay.
we can take care of this and, okay. Move on to item 5, current issues for information discussion. 5A is minor reviews. Jody, do you have an update for us?
Let's see. On the 6th of October, Michael did a review, a minor review for 192 South Stone, a chapel. Let's see, I think maybe
Yeah,
Ricky's
that
been
one-
doing those.
Yeah, that one was the diocese. They're putting up 2 signs. It was pretty straightforward. It's gonna be plastic molded letters on the front and the back metal backing it. The metal's gonna match the color of the building. They're putting it in 2 different spots, different ones. So we reviewed those at the same time. I did like 3 or 4 of them this month.
You also did one, I think on the 30th. There were 2 signs, one at University and one in Barrio Historico.
Yes. So one of them was, what is that? 192 South Stone. I think it's that one. One of them was one that I had reviewed previously that Michael had been talking about in the meetings, where they just had to go back and fix some stuff. So they came back and that was okay. I reviewed another one, which is that fence that Jan had talked about. So that came back. Well, he presented, and then the plans that he presented were not correct. So he came through minor review again, because the fence that he put up was not the fence that he got approved to build. And he technically did not still have it, like something happened and he actually didn't have a permit to build it. He came back for the fence that he has now to be reviewed. And the plans he presented still didn't match the fence that he had up. And so both me and the neighborhood person who were there recommended that go for a full review. And he also just didn't understand like why he was there in the first place. Yeah, so he kept trying to say that the neighborhood really liked the fence. And I had to tell him that it's not what the neighborhood thinks about the fence. So
The
that was really
neighborhood's the one who reported him.
yeah. So he will eventually be going through.
So a full review?
Yeah.
Okay, and when were these at different times? I mean, in the minutes, can you just say recent minor reviews include, Jody?
Yes.
The one in West University and the one at Barrio Historico was at 8:30 on September 30th. That's the fence and the sign in West University that she was talking about. And then the one for the where was that one?
The other one was October 13th.
Oh, I have it down as October
Right.
6th.
Oh,
Did that get
that's
changed?
right. You're right. Sorry.
Okay, wait now. So that was,
192 South Stone. That was the diocese.
the diocese was that, and then the sign, okay. So then all the others were on 9:30, or were they,
They were on 9:30. Yeah.
all three of the
Mm.
others, the fence, the Barrio Historico, and the West University? Or was the fence in Barrio?
The fence is in Armory.
The Army Park, that's what I thought, okay. And the signs were, one was in West University, one was in Barrio.
Yes, Michael has like changed how he does his calendar appointments. I'm gonna have to talk to him about it because he's not providing answers.
Okay, so, well, I can write this up, okay. All right, anything else on minor reviews?
I think that's it.
Okay, item 5B is appeals. Are there any pending or anything?
We do not have any pending appeals.
Okay, 5C is zoning violations.
We don't have. We're continuing to work with people on these before they reported. So I don't have any addresses or anything like that, but we're working with people to kind of address any kind of zoning violations.
Okay, item 5D is review process issues. Does anyone have anything they'd like to bring up?
Just a reminder for those of you submitting permits, namely that's Savannah. We will be going to a new permitting system. So pretty much, what's today? Tomorrow, Friday, we will stop taking any new permits until 30th of October, and our new permitting system will go online on the 31st. It should be super fun for everybody.
Okay, so it's down from 10/21, which is Friday, to the 30th.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
And the
Alright.
new system, yeah, and but we will be taking emergency permits. So if there's emergency gas shut off or turn on, that kind of thing, they'll be taking those.
great, thank you. Okay, then item 6 is summary of public comments. Were any received, Jody?
We did not receive any public comments.
Okay, let's see. I'm just seeing if anything is, nothing's coming in. Okay, so item 7, future agenda items. So
The-
October 27th, we'll have capstone
Mhm.
and Milagro.
Yeah. So West University actually did capstone and a couple other projects during when they were reviewed by that. We really, how we handled that is we kept a really tight control over the time limits. I let the applicants know how long they would have to basically present and answer any questions and be done in that time frame. I also let the chair know we are coming up on time limits so that they were able to let the applicant know, hey, this is gonna have to come to a close. So I can
Okay.
do the same thing this meeting coming up, so we all know what to expect.
Okay, so-
Joel will have to recuse for capstone.
So we're gonna have to have 5. Okay, question. So Jan just texted and said if we give her 5, she could be on, but she hasn't seen the agenda. So do we just want to not do it, or do we want to try to get Corky on? What's everyone's pleasure?
I can send a chat real quick to Anne to see if they're still available.
This is Joel. I blocked out the morning until 11, so it's fine with me.
Yeah, I have
That
shift
works for
as well.
me. I can go ask Corky.
Oh, that's so helpful because you're right there. You just heard from Carol.
Okay, I'm gonna email her the link to join. Are we still waiting?
Make me an angel.
Or are we assuming people will get on?
Well, Savannah wants to go ask.
Okay,
Corky's good. He's getting
Okay.
Doug and Ann.
this is really gonna be so helpful, I think, don't you? Okay, we're still on item 7, so let me just email this. Ah,
It looks like they're all available to come back on.
okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, because I'd rather, okay, so I'm gonna forward this to Jan. I always,
Carol, you mean Carol?
no, Jan,
Oh, who's coming on? Jan or Carol?
Jan.
Oh,
I try everything. Excuse me. Okay, I just emailed. So, we can't really talk about capstone at all because I just had a question about it, but we can't ask because Joel's on, right?
you can ask me, you can email me if you have a particular question later on.
Okay, I will, or yeah, I will. I'm just curious. Okay, so I emailed Jan. Let's just hope she can get on. And I thought this would save people time. And so what was the review of capstone like on when West University heard it? Was it long?
There was a lot of public comments that were sent in. There were probably like 6 the first time and 2 or so the next time because they continued it. They were quite a bit better organized, I would say, the second time around. And there was just a lot of questions. It's not something that anybody's really reviewed before, so, and it's a kind of a convoluted review process, so everybody was a little bit confused. But we'll also have Maria Gayoso or somebody from the entitlements team who will be present to kind of help walk through the process so you all understand. It is a wonky process.
Quick question. Jan wants to know if you can email the materials and she'll call in. Do you have those handy?
Yeah, I do have those. Oh, you know what? I will email her. Corky just sent the PowerPoint presentation yesterday. I can send that to her. That's probably the easiest because that'll be what he's walking through.
And okay, I just told her you're emailing her.
Hopefully that's through. But I just
How big was it?
forwarded a copy of Corky's presentation to her.
Email is weird for my texting. Okay, it's just. Please get on. Okay, so then, anything, let's see, future agenda items, we'll just close that then. So 10-11, we decided we would do 626 North 6th. And plus something else, and probably best practices.
Yes, on the November agenda.
That's why I have November 10. Right, and then 10/27's capstone. Okay.
So are we, I don't think I saw the schedule that you put out, and I went to go look for it the other day and I couldn't find it. Is the 11/10 meeting our only meeting scheduled for November? Because the other one was on Thanksgiving as usual.
We, as far as I know, we did not discuss having a second meeting, which we may need to do. Do we need to?
We'll probably have a better idea on the 10th. But
Well, what we might want to do is send an email saying that if we have to have a second meeting in November, what's people's availability on that week of the 14th, wouldn't you think?
I can send that out.
Or what do you all think? Savannah, Joel, Ricky?
I only have Wednesdays and Thursdays.
So you could only do,
16th and 17th.
Yeah.
This Joel, I essentially have any time, so I could
could
fit.
also, yeah, we could also go back to the second or third, couldn't we? Third if we had to.
Yeah, that's just kind of scheduling you guys for a lot of meetings back-to-back weeks.
Okay, I'll be right back, okay? Hey, Marianne.
Sorry, guys, we're
I'm on a Zoom meeting right now.
We're waiting for Jan,
Okay.
not Carol. We're waiting for Jan, who's on the road. So she's specifically calling in to help us out with this item.
Okay, I'm gonna ask her if she's getting on. Oh, please.
Is it just a maybe for the second meeting in November, or is it really just we for sure have too much to fit in there?
It's just a maybe at this point, but we're kind of trying to hedge bets to figure out what kind of availability people have.
Yeah.
And then in which case we could take Mr. Mackey's case and the best practices. I could probably have it ready. And we're just gonna move ahead regardless of if people from the county can get on. Because it's just been dragging on too long.
So it's 9:44 and Jan has joined the meeting.
Jan is here at 9:44. Okay, let me just write this down. Okay, thank you, Jan, you there?
Yeah, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you so much. Okay, I will go ahead.
Can you remind me how to mute and unmute on my phone?
Isn't it *6?
I believe it's *6.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, okay, we're gonna move back to case 3C. And And it is the Milagro on Oracle, the Notel Motel at 2425 North Oracle Road. Adaptive reuse and new construction for 63 unit LIHTC affordable housing project for supportive senior living. This is a courtesy review. It's a contributing resource, and we're using the rehabilitation standards. And Jody, do you have background on this case?
I do.
Oh, wait just a second. Wait. We have to have Commissioner McDonald recuse at 9:45. Is that okay?
Yes.
And so Savannah, you don't need to come back on because we've covered everything.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about all the drama today.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, here we go. Go ahead and proceed, Jody.
So this is a project that is located within the Miracle Mile National Register Historic District. It is located between two contributing hotels. To the south is the Notel Motel, and to the north, I forget. I want to say it's the Amazon Motel, but I could be wrong.
Don Motel. D-O-N.
Thank you. Don Hotel. There are a couple of buildings on the Notel Motel site that will be demolished as part of this project. We've previously worked with SHPO to get the okay to demolish those buildings. They were built a little bit later than the rest of the Notel Motel. And so they're not going to impact the overall integrity of the Notel Motel site. They are coming to you because this project is an HCD project. There are federal associated with it. And as part of the existing programmatic agreement, whenever a property is getting federal funds and is in a national register district, they are required to go through the plans review subcommittee for review. So this is a courtesy review, but they will be coming back for a formal review as part of this process. I had asked that they do a courtesy review earlier on so you can get a feel for it. And with that, I will pass it to Corky Poster and Ann Shineka.
Great, thank you both for presenting. Thanks, Jody.
Yeah, no problem. So I believe I'm going to kick it off just doing a real high level overview and then turn it over to Corky and Doug for way more of the fun details. My name is Ann Shineka. I'm a deputy director here at the Department of Housing and Community Development, and we're really excited about this project. So many of you may be aware that the city of Tucson used to do a lot more affordable housing development. So things like MLK downtown, Posadas over near Santa Rosa. But for about 10 years, we haven't been doing development, but the current mayor and council recently asked that we do get back in the development game, given the housing crisis. And really, they want more players trying to build affordable housing units. So this is our first project that we've been doing in a long time. And I think it's a great first project because it really aligns with a lot of the city's goals. And so just wanted to mention that up front, that it is truly a unique project. In fact, the LIHTC stands for Low Income Housing Tax Credit. We were able to secure the state's single, there's only one unique set aside for the low income housing tax credit. So it's a really competitive program. But the state acknowledged that given its adaptive reuse of some historic motor courts and also is in our Thrive in the O5 area. And so thinking about, it's also Grant, and it's very close to Grant and Oracle. So really our future high capacity transit corridor. And so a lot of elements make this a project that we're really excited about. So we already have secured the low income housing tax credits, which is great. But the challenge with that though, is it's a pretty tight timeline to make sure everything goes smoothly, and we need to be in construction June of next year. So that, and we're grateful because we haven't done development in a while, really grateful for our partners on this project, including Poster Murdo McDonald, who has been guiding us and keeping us out of trouble. So I'll turn it over to Corky.
Thank you. Doug, can you turn make Doug Hawkins the co-host and allow him to share his screen, please?
Yeah. So I'm getting the same message, the host disabled, participant screen sharing.
Jody, can you?
You should be good now.
Okay.
Thank you. This is Corky Poster, architect and principal with Poster Murto McDonald, Doug Hawkins, also working with Poster Murto McDonald on this project. We're really excited about it. It for us feels like really everything you need to do for adaptive reuse in the Miracle Mile Historic District. One of the things I want to add to what Ann said is that this is being reviewed because of the MOU relative to federal projects, but it also will be the first project in the city of Tucson that uses the Grant Road Incentive District Overlay, GRID. And so the GRID also requires historic review. So it's sort of a double-ended. We will certainly be back to you as this becomes more detailed, but we wanted to give you a preview of the project now. Doug, can you go to the next slide? I just gave you some images of the both of the historic properties. So we're now looking west and a little bit south at the Notel Motel. You can see the yellow sign. This was originally the Anza Motel, ANZA. And as Jody described, there are several later structures, not much later, but very different in character, that sit on the right side of the top photograph. And we will be demolishing those, including a pool. And again, that's been approved by both the city preservation officer and SHPO, when we have a letter to that effect. We'll also be removing the billboard that sits behind the Notel Motel. The property's been acquired by the city of Tucson. In the next photograph, you can see kind of the character defining element of that motel, and that is essentially a pair of hotel rooms, and the arched openings were originally carports. So it's very much in the motor court spirit of the mid-century Miracle Mile district, and we're going to be preserving that character as we move forward. And so we're not doing any significant exterior modifications to the Notel Motel, but we are going to eliminate the demising walls between two hotel rooms and make it into a larger unit. Each of those, and I'll show later, but each of those units now will use the double carport as a covered open air patio. So each unit will get a 20 by 20 patio adjacent to their unit, which will be really nice. Next slide. So this is the Northern Motel. This is the original, the Don Motel. You can see the vacant property between the two off to the left of the tile roof that you can see. So the city owns both historic motels and the vacant property in between. This property has been compromised a little bit more than the Notel Motel. This was a motel, and then it was acquired by Core Civic. Core Civic, as you may know, is the largest private prison company in the country. And they use this facility as a halfway house for prisoners under their jurisdiction. And they did a major remodel of the building that was entirely for their functional purposes and not at all for aesthetic purposes. So there is mechanical equipment everywhere in the old carports. There's a very, very aggressive, nasty fire sprinkler system that runs throughout the whole building. But from an exterior point of view, most of the buildings are intact. If you look at the lower photograph, you can see that there's a more modern addition behind that white pickup truck. Again, that will be kept as a community building. And in the center of the site is a gazebo, which we believe to be original, and that will be maintained as well. Next, please. This shows the site plan for the project. We are remodeling all the motels on the north side, the motel on the north side, remodeling the southern portion of the Anza Motel on the south side. And we are building a 4-story structure in the middle for 48 new affordable housing units. There'll be 10 new units on the north side, 5 on the south side, and 48 in the center for a total of 63 units. You can see it a lot better in the next couple of slides. Next. This is a bird's eye view of what is being proposed. You can see now on the north side is the Anza Motel, excuse me, the Don Motel. And you can see those patios that will be created, private patios for each unit. Essentially on the west of each unit is a private patio, and then some others as well. You can see some of the later additions without the clay tile roofs. The center portion will be maintained. That nasty parking lot on the east end will turn into a garden and an outdoor area. The site will be fenced. We're using the middle of the site as a double loaded parking area that also has trash collection and fire turnaround. And you can see why we were interested in demolishing the north side of the Notel Motels, so that we could put a contemporary building in the center of that site. Interestingly, the underlying zoning allows for 40 feet in height, 4 stories. For comfortable ceiling heights, we're going to be going to 45 feet, which is why one of the reasons why we're using the GRID. But I also should point out that the allowable height under the GRD for this site is 75 feet. We are not doing that. So we understand that there's a little bit of a scale break between the units, but there was no way to meet the requirements of low-income housing tax credit property on this site. And the reason I say that is the sweet spot for those properties is between 60 and 80 units. And so even if we lost a floor, this would essentially become ineligible for the low-income housing tax credit, both probably from a scoring point of view, but certainly from a cost effectiveness point of view. We had several meetings with Jody and talked about the scale issues, and we were able to pull back the upper 2 stories of the housing from the street front. You can see here. We would love to pull it back further, but we can't do that and maintain the number of units that we have. But we think that the scale of that is significant to be able to bring down to the 1-story scale. We are on the property line in the same way that both of the buildings are on the property line as well. Next slide, please. This is a rented site plan showing how we're using the spaces in between the motels. So there's a walking path for seniors in the courtyard in front of the southern units, and then maintaining largely the same landscape that is currently there on the Don Motel. Parking is parking, and we have to provide it. And so we wind up with the most efficient parking we can get. And you can also then see the 0 lot line of all of the structures in the 3 pieces of this. At the very north end, that will be a community meeting. In the middle structure, the first floor will also be a community space. And in the Notel Motel, that existing manager's unit will also be a community space for the 63 residents here. Next, please. This just shows the elaboration of the units. Essentially on the north side, mostly creating 1-bedroom units. At the northwest corner and the southeast corner, those are 2-bedroom units. And you can see now if we look over at the Notel Motel on the far south, you can see the patios that will be served by each one of those. Next. A little more detail of the units. I won't waste your time by walking through those, but they are small, efficient units with a lot of good outdoor space associated with each one, as you saw before. These are the historic units. Next, please. These are the 4-story units. These are what I call tube units. Looks like a long skinny, but you're only in one room at a time, so it functionally is not long and skinny. It's living, dining, kitchen on the north end with a balcony access wide enough to have some seating areas on it. And then each unit gets a 100 square foot patio on the south. So imagine kind of an egg crate of balconies on the south. That works out well because those will be fully sunny in the winter and fully shaded in the summer. So each unit will have a significant amount of usable outdoor space. Next. And this shows it in a little more detail. If you look at the southern end of that, that white space with the fins on it is the outdoor space, outdoor terrace associated with each unit. Next, please. These are the elevations of the 2 historic motels. You can see now much more clearly the way the double arched carports are being preserved and used as patios for each of the units. And now the 2 windows in each unit are now in a single unit instead of 2 separate hotel rooms. Next. This is an early elevation of the 2-story building. On the top right hand, you'll see our attempt to kind of lower the scale on the street. It seems insignificant to pull back that way, but if you look at the new Union on 6th Street and see the way that those 6th Street facing portions of the building modulate the height just behind it, you can see that it actually works fairly effectively in bringing down the scale of the building on the street. Top right is the Oracle elevation. Top left is the west elevation facing a trailer park. And then you can see the elevations with the patios and with the walking entrance. Next. And this is a bird's eye view looking the other way, looking over the top of the Don Motel. You can see the patios created between each of the tile roof buildings, and then you can see the north-facing elevation of the 2-story new construction. As I said before, we're taking this through the GRID, which has extensive design review. So this is an early elevation. We've just completed only the schematic design phase of the project, but we are on a relatively fast track and we'll be pushing through the GRID reviews, come back to you for another historic review, and then pushing to be under construction by the beginning of the summer. Happy to answer any questions. Doug is on the line as well to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. Quirky commissioners, do you have questions?
I don't know if I just missed this part, but how many parking spaces are there?
There will be 36 parking spaces. The senior affordable housing, because most lower income seniors do not have cars, allows for a 0.75 number of spaces per unit, which would bring us to 41, I believe. And then the GRID allows a 25% reduction below that. And so there will be 36 parking spaces, which is allowable under the current zoning. We do lots and lots of these projects, and we know that not even half of the residents will own a car. We did the Marist College, for example, on Broadway and Church. That has 29 on-site parking spaces for 83 units, and they're not always full.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Joel?
Yeah, I've actually got a couple, several. First of all, the Don Motel, how do you spell Don? Is that D-O-N? Yes, okay.
Yeah, D-O-N.
Okay, thanks. And you talked about the scaling issues that you've gone over with the city staff very carefully. And I have to admit to you, I didn't quite follow that discussion. Can you sort of tell me about what that is again, Corky?
Yeah, Doug, if we can go back to that other bird's eye view. Okay, so when we originally showed this to Jody, those upper two levels of residence came all the way out to the street. If you look at the far right side, the east side of that 4-story building mass, you see kind of a storefront down by the street.
Yes,
And you see that gray roof on top of the storefront.
yes.
When we first showed this to Jody, the light gray came all the way out to the top of that. So it was 4 stories right on the street.
Gotcha.
And we eliminated a breezeway at the upper level, and we're able to pull that back approximately 15 feet, Doug?
Yeah, about 15 feet, correct.
15 feet, which allows kind of a 1.5 story presence. That's a single story height, but it's a tall height. But basically kind of a 1-story feeling on the street, and pulling back the top 2 floors back to the west, so that we have it a differentiation of the building on the street.
And then how does that tie in? And maybe I've misunderstood something, but you referred a couple times to a 2-story new construction structures.
4-story. The new construction is 4 stories.
New construction is 4-story. Okay, I just misunderstood that.
Yeah, I might have said it wrong. Sorry.
Yeah, did you when you were talking about the scaling issue, did you refer to a structure on 6th Street?
Yeah, I was giving you. Okay, let me explain, Joel, why I brought that up. If you look at this drawing, you might say, well, that setback of the upper level is insignificant compared to the mass of that building, and a pedestrian would not get a 1-story feeling along the street, but rather a 4-story feeling on the street. And what I suggested is that if you have a close look at the Union on 6th, which is where the old Plush bar used to be.
Okay.
I was the design reviewer on that infill incentive district, and I forced them to push back the height from the street so that the street elevation has lower structures. And it turns out that you don't have to push the upper levels back very far in order to get that pedestrian sense on the street of the lower scale of those 6th Street fronting portions of that building. I'm sorry, I tend to talk a little fast, and so
That's all right.
I get that might be.
Yeah,
Does that make sense, Sam?
Yes, and frankly, I just sort of lost track and wondered what building it was because I didn't quite get that. Sure. So, and also I guess I should know this, but the Miracle Mile Historical District, there's a, what is the period of significance for that district?
I don't know the exact dates, but essentially mid-century. Jody, do you know the exact dates of that district?
I can look it up and get back to you in just a second.
But it's post-war, it's post-war, the development of Miracle Mile as the hotel and motel entry for automobiles before I-10 was built. And so Miracle Mile West and Oracle and then Drachman and then Stone are all have very, very many of the old motels, motor courts along the entire length.
And if it's helpful, I just looked this up for some other purpose. The Don was based on the inventory sheet built in 1941, and the Dianza was 1940.
And the period of significance for Miracle Mile is 1920 through 1963.
Thank you.
And and really that question was just sort of background for this question. You're talking about tearing down some structures that you said were built around the same time as the Dianza, but not exactly. So I'm wondering what the date of those structures are.
The inventory form, to my knowledge, did not have the exact date, but I would guess that they were within 5 years of the building of the Anza Hotel. However, the style is dramatically different. They look like they ran out of money and bear no resemblance to the architecture of the Anza or Notel Motel.
Yeah, so this is a courtesy review. So that'd be great if I would think when we come back to show that somehow in photographs or something like that, because it would seem that they were built within the period of significance.
That's correct.
Yeah. So I really wouldn't have a problem with that, just so long as we can document, what you're saying and stuff.
That's a great suggestion.
Yeah. So
just
well, go ahead.
As an editorial comment, and I think this is me speaking, you're going to see a lot of development along the Miracle Mile Historic District, and most of that is quite heavy zoned. So we're going to have to figure out a way to redevelop that strip of land, and it's extensive, in a way that kind of mediates between the 1-story and 2-story historic buildings that are from one end to the other, and the heavy underlying zoning, and the I think ultimate market need to get some more density and height. So this is not the first one of these that you're going to see, and I'm certain that you're not going to see very many that build single story to match the single story developments. It's just you're going to see projects in this district for the next 10 years. And again, most of it is C3, and that allows 40 feet in height or more, depending on what else is available to it.
Yeah, I think so. So, and then the I guess the last thing, I won't take up all our time, but you mentioned that there's an overlay in play that's has to do with the density of transportation corridor. Did I get that right, or can you tell me?
Yeah, the Grant Road Incentive District was created after the Grant Road physical infrastructure improvements, the widening essentially of Grant Road. The City of Tucson Department of Planning and Development Services and the mayor and council approved an overlay zone somewhat similar to the infill incentive district and the Sunshine Mile overlay zone. Those are all kind of cousins. And by using that overlay zone in this location, we get the ability to make some minor modifications. So we're going to be going 45 feet instead of 40 feet. We have the ability to reduce parking by 25%. We have the ability to match the setback on Oracle, which would normally be required to not be on the property line, like the existing buildings. It allows us to set back a waiver of setback on the west side and allows us to not have a 10-foot suburban planting strip. Suburban is my word, planting strip in front of the building.
Gotcha.
So
All
there
right.
are a handful of minor things that the GRID allows us to do without a lot of aggravation.
Thanks, I appreciate it, Corky, very much. Thanks.
Thank you, Joel. Ricky, you had your hand up.
Terry, this is Carol. I just joined the meeting.
Okay, so Carol joined at 10:15. Okay, so Carol, what we did was we were able to get Jan on, and and because Savannah had to recuse, so thank you for joining. All right.
And Terry, this is Jan. I'm not going to be able to stay on much longer. I was thinking this was going to be a half hour less. We have to hit the
Well, I
road and we'll
think
lose our signal.
Yeah, did you have any comments that you could share?
You know, the main thing I just wanted to say was to thank Corky for being so clear about explaining what was going on with the parking, both the incentives and the rationale, and then what he's seen in real examples. So I appreciate that. It was very clear. And I also really like the reuse of the existing structures and the incorporation of the outdoor spaces. And then finally appreciate following Jody's recommendation for pulling back on the street frontage. And I didn't really have any questions. I was surprised how easy for once I could follow along on the phone. So thank you.
Okay, so I was just gonna ask, can you stay on a few more minutes? Because we might be wrapping up soon.
If you're almost done, I'll stay on, but otherwise we are.
Oh, yeah, it's because it's just a courtesy
Impatient
review.
person here.
Right, we just have a courtessy.
Yeah,
review here,
okay.
so- Yeah, so let's,
Okay, thank you.
Sure, who else? Let's see, who else is on? Let's see, Joel.
I just had a couple final comments. This is Ricky.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Ricky.
Yeah, so I thank you for coming and presenting this project. And I guess I did have one more actual question. You did still secure the permit already in order to demolish those buildings, or you were working on getting that?
We have a letter from City of Tucson and from SHPO saying that the property would not be delisted if that demolition took place. And not being delisted is a requirement of the GRID.
Not being
So
listed,
there, excuse me?
not being delisted is a requirement. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct. In other words,
Okay.
there's a historic preservation element to the GRID and says, like the IID, you can't use this overlay if you are causing a property to be delisted.
Okay, so let me ask this question. Yeah, Jody, when we hear this as a regular review, will we be also including an motion about the demolition?
You should.
Okay, but yeah, okay. All righty, so does anyone else have any questions?
I don't have any further questions, but I just thank you for being mindful of the area. I do understand why it has to be 4 stories, but it's nice to see the incorporation of the new building being between 2 sets of older buildings that are lower rise.
Yeah, and I did have one question is, the buildings that will be demolished eventually, have they been documented in any way, Jody?
Not yet.
Not yet, but they will be.
Well, yeah, they will be documented, yes.
Okay, that's helpful. And so I wanted to ask about the housing for older folks, and I really like the incorporation of that sort of park-like area in the center there. Will that be sort of a communal area and dog walking area and so forth like that?
Yes. 2 of them, actually, one between the Anza Motel, Notel Motel, and the new structure, and the other central to the Don Motel.
Okay. So I just have a quick question about the interiors of those little places that face on the patio, do they have, like, what's the access? I mean, I know that's not part of this review necessarily, but what's the access from into the little patios look like?
There'll be a door directly from the living room of each unit into its own private patio.
Okay, it's not like a sliding glass door or anything like that. It's just a regular door, or you don't know?
It'll probably be a French door. It'll be covered in all cases and protected from the sun. It'll probably be, to get light into the unit from that, but it'll be a single operating 3 foot, 6'8", either a divided light or a single light French door.
Okay.
Probably, I mean, my preference would be to do single light because we wanted to distinguish it's a new door going through the opening of an existing wall. So our practice in all those cases is to not confuse people and think it was an original door. So we will distinguish it by making it a little more contemporary, although not much.
Okay, I just wondered because I live in a small little place right now that has these little back patios on the buildings. And they have a nice feature where they have some concrete, but some gravel, which is great because, pets can go out there, but if there's a pet area out there, it's not a big deal, in the center.
Right.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any other questions. So Carol, do you have anything?
No, I don't.
Okay, so basically these are just comments, and Corky, I'm sure, has noted them and questions, and then we will review this. Do we have an anticipated schedule for reviewing this, Jody?
I don't think we have a tentative schedule for them yet. When they're ready, then we can docket them. And they are fully aware that the holidays get wonky with scheduling.
Yeah. Okay, so are we done with questions, or does anyone else need anything? Okay, thanks for coming back, and so that we could hear this courtesy review case and kind of move it forward. So that's great. And we will be, Corky will be typing up the minutes of this meeting, the legal action report, so you can and you can also listen to the recording. I'm sure that, and Jody posts those so that if you want to refer to any of our comments. And thank you, Anne, for being on and so forth.
Yeah, thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So, yeah, Jody, well, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 10:23 because we already dealt with all the other items that followed 3C. And thank you again. And Jody, could you stay on just 1 second? But you can turn off the recording. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Carol, for getting on.
Thank you.